Oh boy. Oh dear God. This was basically what I feared. Let me make sure my info's all right. Yeah, okay. This is what I feared would happen, basically. Um, as you can see, I still have the docs up from yesterday. Um, and yeah, the oh my God. First of all, let's just take a second to look at the trendings on Twitter right now. Cotton, Oshi, VTubing. I think all three of these have something to do with today. Oh God. I don't want to do this. Genuinely, I don't, but also I'm just gonna be doing this now. Because Cinder has made her apology. And I put heavy air quotes around apology. Because this was not an apology. This, and it really genuinely hurts to say this. This was just a Cinder throwing Red under the bus while trying to claim she's as innocent as possible. And in the end, it just makes her. This hurts. This hurts. I'm gonna give it a second before I actually start reading her apology. And then after the apology, we are going to look at the comments and see how badly all of this went over. To the point where even the two people, that, at least that I know, that have collabed with her in the past are saying they're disappointed. Well, one saying she's disappointed, the other one saying fuck off, so that should tell you how this apology is. It is it's not an apology. This is straight up not an apology. This is her throwing her boyfriend under the bus, and I can say that confidently because she does confirm Red is her boyfriend. Which, okay, who cares? I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised about that, nor do I exactly care. Red being her boyfriend is fucking small potatoes in comparison to everything else that's been happening. It just let's be honest, Red being her boyfriend genuinely doesn't fucking matter. Or at least it wouldn't if Cinder wasn't in a controversial situation. And I will go through some of the comments later. That's not what I meant to do. I will go through some of the comments later. Um, yeah, just from Camilla and Buff Pup's comments, you can already tell how a lot of people are feeling. And Hades, even Cotton. Oh, Cha-Cha. I didn't even realize Cha-Cha and Lena were also commented here, but let's... Another Google Doc, yes. This makes, what, 6, 7 for this situation? Because there's one I didn't even link in my video yesterday, because I didn't even know it existed. Being, Rain, Cinder's ex that she cheated on. She goes over that. Let's... I'm gonna get some background music so it's not just me yapping. Yeah, so there's at least something. Just enough that you guys can hear it. So... Let's just move that. So, as you guys can see, Cinder has posted. She made an apology. And you know what she says right here? There's nothing that I can say to make this situation better. That is true. There is nothing she can say to make this better. In fact, she kind of made it worse. And you have no idea how much this hurts. Well, I'm just gonna... How do I put these all in folders? Alright, whatever. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. So, before we really get started with her apology, let's just go over essentially the cliff notes from, Spite and Silver. So, Spite is basically saying that, you know, yeah, Cinder have been really unfair to her because they're very similar. And that, some of, you know, admittedly some of their outfits were a little similar. You know, but there was never any real copying going on. Like, yeah, these are similar, but, you know, you cannot call this beach model of Sprite anything even really close to, you know, Cinder. She also mentioned this, being honestly a little too similar to herself. And, yeah. Yeah, the, gray blue skin tone, they look very similar. Like, this is really similar to, Sprite, admittedly. And, you know, you can see how it feels like it's copying. Cinder does address this as well as the similarities to the Greek goddess stuff. Oh wow, I didn't realize they were that similar. As well as the, you know, comfy, sleepy time stuff. She does address the, similarities. But yeah. And then we have Silver, who is VTuber 1 in, this entire situation. Remember how in Nano's, documents, she listed VTuber 1. Well, VTuber 1 is Silvervale, who was a very popular, streamer. You know, she was a very popular VTuber during the VTuber uprise of 2020. Let's just jokingly call it. And then, another guy, I think... Oh, that's not good. I think, I thought I had something from, right. No, that's right. The only information I really have from him is, what Sinder mentions in her document. Sorry. But I've wasted enough time. Let's get into this. Okay. Let's just get into this. Because this legitimately hurts. This legitimately hurts. How do I... Can I just fucking minimize this tab? So, here we go. Redacted has been my co-content creator since we began making content, managing all aspects of what I do, and being a major part of why I'm here. Yes. This is true. Purple guy, so, essentially, a VTuber I looked up to quite a bit, was exposed for doing some pretty nasty shit, including basically stabbing a close friend of hers in the back. This is her quote-unquote apology. I'm going to say this. I did read the document once before I started the stream. This was not an apology. I'm also going to say that just like with the last one, this is going straight to YouTube after I finish up here. After I finish up reading the documents and, going over some of the, less than stellar reactions to this. Purple Guy, since you're not big into the content creator sphere, you probably don't know Sinder. She is a Hellhound VTuber, and, she's also a co-owner of GamerSups. She was also a big inspiration for me, and is part of why I started doing content creation. Last night, almost as soon as I, found out, I looked over, the documents from her model artist, Nano, who we'll get into some of that later. As well as Bao the whale, who was one of Cinder's, best friends. As well as 2 VTubers I did not know, but, are still part of this. Silvervale. And Sprite. Sprite is another Hellhound VTuber. Silvervale is another one of Nanolith's, Cinder's model artists. Words. She's another one of her, VTuber kids, quote-unquote. In the VTubing sphere, we typically call model artists model mamas, and model riggers, the ones who allow all the movement and stuff, model dads. And model mamas will typically call anyone they create a model for their model baby. Silver is one of Nano's model babies, as is Cinder. So, just kind of a TLDR on that stuff. Not nice shit. But yeah. So, we're gonna continue reading Cinder's quote-unquote apology. And this hurts, because again, Cinder is a large reason I started doing this. So yeah. We've also been in a relationship since the start of my endeavors. That is fucking small potatoes. That if it weren't for the fact that what's happening in this situation is happening, I don't think anyone would really care that her and Red are in a relationship. However, if we go back to Nano's document, her model mama, all of these messages are from Redacted, aka Red, aka Cinder's boyfriend. As such, there is no possible way Cinder is completely unaware of what Redacted has been doing. Because, let's be honest, partners tell each other everything. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. Partners tell each other everything. Like, Camilla says right here. Boyfriends and girlfriends tell each other every little thing. Like, this hurts. It's no secret that many VTubers choose to keep their public and personal lives separate. Which is... yeah, I agree with that. I'm a fucking open book. The only thing I will not expose on stream is my real name. And, of course, my address. Personal information like that. I'm an open book. I am a rarity in that sphere. Or in that... I'm a rarity in that. Because... a lot of content creators in general do keep their personal lives separate. And, they... What was that? That is personal information I will not be, revealing, Purple Guy. Not to mention, I don't have a credit card. I barely have a debit card, so... I could give you the information, but you'd get $2 out of it. But, like I said, a lot of them do keep their personal and public lives separate. Which is fair and respectable. When you have a brand built off parasocialism, it makes sense that you would want to hide the fact that you have a boyfriend. or a partner. I don't give a shit about being parasocial. If y'all like me, y'all like me. I'm not gonna try to, be like, oh, chat. Trying to fucking riz y'all up or anything like that. I don't care. If y'all like me, you like me for my personality, not because I'm trying to flirt with you. But a lot of VTubers do build their, careers on their chat being parasocial. And, feeling like they're much closer to the streamer than they are. So, wanting to, hide information like having a partner makes sense. Like, I'm not gonna bash Sinder for that. I don't want to bash Sinder at all, but, As of yesterday, he will no longer be working with me, and I have not extensively discussed any of this with him. Why wouldn't... That kind of trips me up, because, like, your partners... You fucking extensively discuss everything with each other. At least, in my experience, and, a lot of other people's experience, partners tell each other everything. So that doesn't make sense, but where our personal situation goes from here will be figured out between us privately. Okay. That is respectable, I will say. I never intended to mention any of this publicly, but given that the claims are out there, I want everyone to know that I'm taking this seriously. Seriously is not really the right word here. Like I said, I've read through this document, and, let's see, about, up until about, like, the document should have started right here. Right here. This is where the document should have started. No, the document should have started right here. On page, 5 of 7. Her actual apologies started over 3/4 of the way through the document. And this document is not really an apology. It is her throwing her boyfriend under the bus for shit she had to have known. This is what I mean by her throwing her boyfriend under the bus. His hyper-business-oriented outlook warped my view of what it is I should be doing, and what is important to me as I navigate my career path. That is not apologizing for anything. That is her throwing Red under the bus for shit she should have known better. And you guys have no idea how much this hurts to hear me say. I fucking loved Sinder. As I said in yesterday's stream when I was covering all the covering Bao and Nano's documents, I have Cinder's sticker from her waifu cup on the back of this laptop. I'm gonna have to get it removed. Or I might keep it to support Nanolist, the artist. But either way. I have a terrible work-life balance as it is, and being around projects and streams all day, every day, made me lose sight of that point. Where would you buy waifu cups? Actually, Gamer Subs. Gamer Subs, they, yeah, see? Yeah. Go ahead and, get Gamer Subs, just, do not use code Sinder anymore. Use code, use code Badger, Lily, whatever. I don't have a code, because I'm too small to be even noticed by Gamer Subs, but, whatever. Anyway. This feels... I don't know. It took all of this happening for me to realize that this behavior isn't normal or healthy, and is not an outlook I want to have. It took 5 fucking years. 5 years for her to realize this wasn't normal or healthy. Because this shit was starting back before she debuted as Sinder, and was Tashi, an ASMR roleplay girl. Who, you can actually find one of her audios in a meme. I forget which one it is, but the thumbnails for one of her audios is actually in a meme. But still. It took 5 years for her to realize that this behavior wasn't normal or healthy. It should not have taken that long. This doesn't absolve me of the things I've willingly done and went along with, or the way I've treated people who were fully undeserving. That is the most accountability she takes in this. Is just saying, yeah, I also fucked up, I guess. But not really apologizing. Like I said, this is more her throwing Red under the bus to save her channel. And, I don't think it's working. I don't think her trying to save her channel by throwing, her boyfriend under the bus is working. Genuinely, I am not seeing a single positive thing here. Yeah, this shit is not working, Cinder. Wait, what? Oh, I see. Anyway. But, yeah, oh. Uh-oh. The trending's just changed, and, Cinders, I think that has something to do with, you know. Anyway. So, let's get into this. In regards to Nano, the majority of my time working with her. Red was almost solely doing the communication about our new plans and negotiations in private DMs. That reads to me like, she never, checked in with the Nano herself. Which, like, that reads to me like she, was trusting her boyfriend and her boyfriend alone with the stuff for her and her model, which doesn't make sense, at least not to me. Um, that just doesn't make sense. Um, Nano had a project server uh, where we were all a part of where the actual art and models were worked on. But the conversations were focused around the work itself. I, I was not fully aware of the extent of Red's manipulation over Nano's commission decisions, and I should have been more diligent in my oversight. That is again throwing Red under the bus. Not taking accountability, that's throwing him under the bus. To try and save face. The wind just closed my back door. Wonder if either of my dogs are there. Well, I'll find out. But also, like, this just doesn't make sense. She had to have been at least mostly aware about all the shit that Red was telling her. I mean, fuck, like, come on. Uh, every time I had been told Nano had agreed to work on a new commission for me with me, it had been willingly and with excitement. Nothing to really comment there. From my point of view, it was that she genuinely wanted to be working on these things. Let's do 2 sentences instead of one. Sorry, I'm yawning. I woke up like 2 hours ago. Why is the music just not? Um, I wanted to work with Nano as much as I possibly could, making her art the face of my brand. We had come to the conclusion that it would be in my best interest to talk with Nano about making more time for my projects by negotiating with her to cut her other work. What time is it? It is currently 4:30 p.m. I have a terrible sleep schedule. I typically go to bed around 4, 5 a.m. and wake up at 2 p.m. So terrible sleep schedule. I'm a night owl. That's not the point of this. Um, you know, this was wrong of me to push on her, and uh, and it was wrong to the other creators who wanted a chance of working with her. That At least she admits that it's wrong, but I don't think she really genuinely feels it. Like, I genuinely don't think she's really like that this is a true, you know, oh, it's wrong. It's more, oh, it's wrong just because I was caught. That's what it feels like. Um, there was only one specific creator we were responsible for naming and pressuring Nano into reconsidering the projects with, not an entire list. That is bullshit. Because Nano does in fact have a screenshot where they basically did set up a list for her to, yeah, you don't work with blank, blank, or blank at all again. Models or art. That to me is trying to set up a blacklist of multiple people, not just one. And 2 of these names are public. Nano just censored them because at the time they didn't necessarily want to you know, I don't know why that. Anyway, Nano censored them because at the time they hadn't, you know, at the time of posting they hadn't agreed to have their information public. So I can tell you at least 2 of these names: Bow the Whale and Cottontail VA. Cotton. Let me... See, right here. This is the same screenshot, but with 2 of the names uncensored. Bow the Whale and Cotton. Oh, and also Kuromi. Or... this person. I did not realize... I did not know them. But, you know.
Yeah. Falling into love hurts just as much as falling out of it, but I'll scrape my knees and scar my...
However, that to me seems, you know, like they were trying to set up a list of content creators for Nano to not work with. Of her own volition, Nano cancelled a large portion of her model commissions last September. That's not entirely true. She was pressured into it by, Red. She was pressured into it. Which screenshot is it that... it's one of the ones for Bow that, you know, is literally, you know, trying to guilt trip her into... here we go. Did you cancel, models? I did not. Nano arc delayed until 2026. That seems like, you know, guilt tripping and trying to pressure her. That doesn't seem like she did it of her own volition. That doesn't seem like, you know, of her own volition. Does it? However, the claim that I was using her is just wrong. I've always treated Nano with respect and as my friend. Going back to Nano's document. You know, yes, there's a little bit of, you know, I get it, Nano, it was unfair to push this on you. You know, however, there is also a lot of guilt-tripping in Cinder's words. You know, I just get compared to her a lot, even still, and this was, February of 2025? These were from February of 2025. See that date? February 11th, 2025. And when you said, I understand if things don't work out, it makes me feel like you're not okay with working with, or you're okay with not working with me anymore, which hurts after all this time. That is a fucking guilt trip and a half. As someone who has dealt with people who guilt trip, that is a fucking guilt trip. That is not treating her as your friend. You don't guilt trip your friends. I did give her a lot of work, and we did everything we could to accommodate her schedule if she needed a break, and even helped her with her own projects multiple times. Okay. I've invited her onto my stream, and I've sent her merch of things she's made for me. And I've always, and I was always open about talking, or open to talking to her about things outside of our projects, in the instances we could message each other. Okay. Regarding the... Fucking highlight, damn it. Regarding the exclusivity deal made between them, I had no part in the direction negotiations of their eventual agreement. I had no knowledge of Bao or Cotton included on this list. Which is possible. You know, that is entirely possible. She didn't know. If I had known that my friends were included, I would have said something to put a stop to it. I was only aware of it being about one person who I was unfairly suing. When Nano had messaged me about the agreement almost a month later, I was under the assumption it was only about Silvervale. Okay? However, this document goes on for a while. And all that. However, there's a very key difference between Cinder's apology here and Nano's documents. Or Bao's documents. Or Silvervale's documents. Or Sprite's documents. Do you see the difference? They all include screenshots and proof. Cinder doesn't. She doesn't provide any screenshots of anything. But let's continue. I was upset, and my initial messages to her were very guilt-trippy. Gee! Ah, fuck. Okay, gee, you fucking think? What the fuck is it? Gee, you fucking think? But I wasn't going to force Nano to do anything she wasn't okay with, and tried reassuring her that I was okay with her decision. Okay. Where's a screenshot of you saying... Well, I mean, technically the screenshot might be one of these. You know. But still, she could have included the screenshot herself. Nano has also never come to me as seriously and professionally as her document was to address the issues she had with either of us, or to terminate our partnership. Okay? She doesn't necessarily need to. All she really has to say is, hey, I'm done. And, you know, that's all she really needs to say, isn't it? Is just, hey, I'm done working with you. That doesn't have to be super professional like her document is. You know? But again, there's no proof corroborating any of this. All the proof is lying in the, for lack of better terms, prosecutor's court. None of it with the defendant. to put it in legal terms. I had no idea there was even a conversation about Shy Lily recently between Red and Nano until reading her document. That. Oh! Oh? What is this? A little bit more context. I had confided in Red that lately I hadn't been hearing from Shy Lily, or from Lily, like I had in the past, and was worried something was wrong. But that's as far as it went. He took it upon himself to try digging up more info. Incorrect info. Because, as, Cinder kind of says here, she just hadn't been hearing from Lily as much, like I had in the past. Red basically implied that, Lily completely ghosted Cinder. Let me see if I can... Ah, there we go. She says it in, this. They imply Lily ignored Cinder when she spent over a minute thanking the raid, which you can see in this clip. Which she does. Red is literally saying, that lately she's been dipping out of collabs that they were both a part of last minute, and now ghosting her messages. Cinder's raided her a couple times in the past week, and Lily won't acknowledge Cinder by name. That is blatantly unfucking true. While yes, Red is the main culprit here, Cinder is obviously not innocent. But, well, we'll keep going. And I was never even aware of Nano. Nano was ever planning to work on a model for another of my friends, Giri. Onigiri, she's another VTuber. Um, I didn't know about this either, but I haven't been able to read through every single one of the documents, so. I do not condone anything about what Red said about Bao in the DMs either. Using we and our in this context is abhorrently incorrect, and I believe it was done to gain greater credibility behind what he was saying. Okay. It might have been that. However, that implies that, Red did this completely behind Cinder's back. When the next sentence is, yes, Red and I were initially upset when Bao had hired my editor, and I took it personally when I shouldn't have. If you take something personally, and your boyfriend, who would do anything for you, presumably, hears that, of course he's going to slander whoever, you're talking about. And say, abhorrent things. But that also is spurred on by, what were you saying when you took it personally? I felt as if maybe my content wasn't good enough, or like I wasn't paying him enough for his work. If you're worried about not paying him enough, just give him a fucking raise. Um, feeling as if your content isn't good enough, maybe you should have talked to him about it? I mean, communication is key here. But I accepted it and was happy for him getting that bag and supporting one of my friends at the same time. Really, because it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't sound like it. At least not in the docs with, um, screenshots of Nano. Doesn't feel like that with Nano screenshots. You know? Oh, and also, this line, but at the end of the day, it's just business. Has become kind of a meme to dunk on Cinder here, so I just want to kind of point that out. Do do do. And yes, I was upset when Sack, the Boss Rush music video editor, also a longtime editor of Bow, had told us that he won't be working with us in any future projects, and would instead be working exclusively for Bow. But Red got it in his head that it was Bow's fault that it happened, and seemingly held a grudge against her for it. Again, just throwing Red under the bus. You know, she's literally just throwing Red under the bus here. You gotta remember, I am a big Cinder fan. So, me saying this is... I'm not using an ad blocker, goddammit. Oh, wait, that's right, Opera GX has built-in ad blockers, that's right. Anyway. But, no, this... She could not have been completely innocent in this. He was very passionate about Boss Rush and the future projects around it. But he told me, without a music video editor as talented as Sack, that the future projects wouldn't reach the same heights. So he created this headcanon and laid it out in DMs. Really? Really? So it's all Red's fault. It's just all Red's fault. No, it's never just one party's fault. I wasn't convinced this was the case, but it's my fault for not speaking with Bao about these things directly to clear things up, and letting it spiral to the point it got. You're fucking right, it's your mistake. You're fucking right, this was your mistake. Every comment about... Fucking hell. Every comment here about her own music, guilt-tripping, and claims that our shared feelings towards her are disgusting. And I honestly don't know why he even thought this way about my close friend beyond the resentment over those two things, or why it was worth sabotaging her over. I don't know, maybe you were saying some shit as well? So he, decided, you know what, I'll do something since, this is clearly hurting my girlfriend. Like any partner would. The "it's just business" screenshot of my DMs with Nano, with Nano's document, were from November of 2023. And I'll go into my thought process behind everything I said here. Yes, these are from November of 2023. That is confirmed, yes. What Red was trying to explain to Nano is that if everyone has a model by her, then the innate value of her models are overall diminished by being an oversaturation of that type of model out there. That is complete and utter fucking bullshit. You know? Like, that is complete bullshit. That's what I was saying in yesterday's stream when I was going over Nano and Bao's documents. Because trying to convince someone that, putting out more of their art, which is something they love to do, makes the value of their art, diminish, is fucking bullshit. Let's continue. If everyone in the world had a VTuber model done by her, then the value of having her model wouldn't be the same as if there were only a handful of them. which he viewed as negative for me. Again, that is complete and utter fucking bullshit. Now, something can be oversaturated, and you can still absolutely love and feel that, that just because, it's oversaturated, doesn't mean it means any less to you. Like, oversaturation does not necessarily mean less value. And even then, Nano only has a handful of people she works with. I mean, granted, yes, I would love to be one of the people that she does work with, because, I absolutely love her work. But, still, say I got a model made by her, and suddenly, just about every other VTuber had a model from her. It would still feel special, because each model is unique. Each model is completely different and completely unique. Thus, it wouldn't devalue anything because it's not exactly the same as everyone else. I understand where he was coming from with this. Bitch, that is... Yes, I can see where he's coming from. That doesn't mean it's right. But in the VTuber space, this isn't something we should have pursued. You're fucking right. Nano has an amazing skill where she's able to draw each one of her VTuber children uniquely. So I was never upset to seeing new model siblings. In many cases, I was cheering them on during their debuts, and looking to collab with them as sisters when I could. I only know one situation where she, actively tried to collab with a new model sister. And that was with Giwi when she debuted. Her, Sinder, and their other one of their other model sisters, Buff Pup, they both collaborated with her on Chained Together. So, that is, I guess, kind of confirmed, I guess? Me saying it's just business, was referring it to my acceptance of Nano's business decisions, whether she chose to work with me or not. Hey Cinder, I hope you're okay. I've talked with Red, and I believe he talked to you already. I thought it would be best if I check here personally. I actually wanted to know better your thoughts, because Red tried to talk me and I thought I misunderstood some things. Oh, I'm good. What's up? Blah blah blah. I thought mostly about this, and it's Red trying to get her to, it's Red saying that, but when everyone's a Nano baby, it feels less special to be one. And Nano says, I thought on canceling some models because of it, but I hadn't, but then realized that it's not really fair to me. I understand what he means, but at the end of the day, it's just business. Love working with you and want to keep working together, but if you prefer other clients instead of me, that feels like a guilt trip. I know it's a reason for you to grow, and not because you don't like me. Yes, that is possible, or she was, saying that, the way her words are, is, I understand what he means, but at the end of the day, it's just business. Feels like she is talking about what Red said. in the, vein of, when everyone's a model baby, it's less special to be one. That's what it feels like she's referring to when she says, at the end of the day, it's just business. Not talking about Nano's business decisions. This was not in reference to anyone's model being cancelled. Further explaining to her that it's okay if she chooses not to work with me. I can understand where the next part can sound manipulative. Oh, can you? But my intention was to reminisce about the journey we had together up to this point. Since at this time, I wasn't sure if this is where Nano and I would stop working together as frequently as we had been. And I'd have to look for a new model artist. I then encouraged her to work on projects she's excited about, while I talk with Red and find a project that would work with her schedule. Okay, where's the screenshot of you talking with Red about this? Because without, proof, everything she's saying here is hearsay. When I was talking about Silvervale, I need to start at the beginning. Before I was Sinder, I was a pink cherry blossom girl named Tashi that did ASMR content. That is public knowledge. That is public knowledge. She has never once denied being Tashi or anything like that. In fact, just a couple months... Fucking hell, wrong YouTube thing. Fucking... If we go to Cinder's channel, which I believe I unsubscribed from, so I... Oh. Nope. So, if we go to Cinder's channel here, she has her ASMR channel, Tashi, linked. And just 3 weeks ago, she released a song cover that featured Tashi as the one singing. So, Sinder has never once denied, anything for Tashi. So, she's never once denied that. Then, when the VTuber boom in 2020, happened in 2020, I knew I wanted to join. Red and I contacted an artist in October. Presumably that's Nano. And they were set to start on my VTuber design by December. My plan was to take my cherry blossom persona Tashi, and make her a pink and white wolf girl VTuber. And then, she goes on to say, Silvervale released her Sakura wolf design. She admits to having heard of Silvervale. We all knew we had to pivot before we were stuck with a design that would just be a copy of one of the most popular VTubers at the time. She then goes on to explain a little bit of the origin of Sinder, which really doesn't have too much to know about that. Really doesn't have, but both Fire and Health theme. It was only a coincidence that it ended up being similar to Silver. Blah blah blah, saying she was genuinely interested in a friendship with her, and drew fan art of them together. And then throwing Red under the bus again, saying, Red was in my ear the whole time, saying how great it would be to work together. To be working together. That is again trying to throw Red under the bus for business decisions that did not pan out. Since I started streaming, I've been ruthlessly compared to Silvervale, being called a discount version of her. I was accused of copying her design, personality, and even her laugh of all things. In the fucking year I've been watching Sinder, I've never once seen anyone compare her to Silvervale. Granted, yes, she's been Sinder for 3 years, almost. June it'll be 3 years she's been Sinder. But I've never once seen anyone compare her to Silver. And she says in her tweets, or in, stuff from 2025, that she's still being ruthlessly compared to her. I just get compared to her a lot, even still today. Never seen anyone compare her to her. But it's possible that was more early days, and now it's just every once in a while, I guess. And there was this large number of people who were die-hard believers of the fact that I stole all these attributes from my own malicious gain, citing the art I had posted of us together, calling her an inspiration, when in reality it was referring to my decision to become a hellhound. The only time Silvervale was mentioned in my original designing of my character was when we explained why we were pivoting to something else, and there was no references of her character involved. Okay. I grew more and more resentful of Silver over time. Between the constant belittling of myself and a controversy around my first waifu cup, which I didn't know, and other incidences, even though she herself never interacted with me directly. Which Silver does mention in her document that she has never, she has never interacted with Cinder directly. So, And it was also that fact that made me insecure. Like I wanted to know if she believed all these things or not. She probably didn't care. Then again, I guess I really haven't read through all of this. Yeah, she said they had a few uncomfortable interactions, but nothing major, it seems. It really felt as if she didn't like that I even existed in the same space. So, at the point I was working with Nano consistently, we brought up not making any more models for her. Which is more rude to Nano than it is to Silver. Because presumably Nano enjoys working on models and outfits for her babies. So, if a VTuber model is how everyone recognizes you, then it'd be harder to compare us directly if we no longer look alike, or have that shared similarity. You two already don't fucking look alike. Like, back into... Oh wait, this is Val's document. Back into this, you can see... I guess they do have a little bit of a similarity. But not enough to the point where I'd really actually compare them. But, it was a wrong and selfish decision, but it did make me feel better. And that's why it was a constant topic with Nano. Red pushed for it harder than I ever did, because he knew how it affected me for years. But no matter what the outcome, I wasn't going to walk away from working with Nano. You see, here is the issue with having partners be a part of your V2 being, like, being your manager and shit, is because they often won't be able to separate business from personal. Thus, like Cinder says here, Red pushed for it because he knew it affected Cinder. And that's probably why he, did all the other shit. Because he knew it was affecting Cinder. Whether she told him directly to do it or not, he was just trying to look out for his partner. But, in doing so, he was hurting her friends, and I don't think she was completely knowledgeless in this. Silver was completely undeserving of this treatment, and it was my own insecurities that led me to making this choice. I became unapologetically evil towards her due to no direct action of her own. There is no excuse for this. She's right, there is no excuse. She is also right that she became, unapologetically evil towards Silver. For no fucking reason. Moving on from Silvervale, let me talk about Sprite. Sprite would be this one. The one who, her Cinder's community went after because they thought they were, that she was copying Cinder. Once again, I had no involvement or knowledge of Reddit bringing up Sprite to Nano in 2023. Bullshit! My bullshit meter is going off on this. Because there's no way she didn't know. There's literally no way. Red, had to have, gotten the idea from somewhere. My only personal involvement with excluding someone specific from working with Nano was Silver. My design sheet and outfit were finished and made public at the very start of 2021. The first thing she mentions is a debut teaser in 2022 that was apparently posted on the same day as her original debut, which I honestly did not know I think that's supposed to be of at the time. Oh no, I did not know if at the time this was intentional or not. I didn't know when I first discovered Sprite, and it could have been after she debuted. When I first debuted, I was very possessive of my design details. I had made it a year and a half since my design sheet was finished and public to having a full VTuber debut as I watched everything grow and change from the sidelines. And I didn't want anyone else to capitalize on my concept before I could. Jealousy. That's what this boils down. That's what a lot of the thing with Sprite comes down to. Is they have a similar, a similar theme. Being that they are both hellhounds, though Sprite is more of a Cerberus hellhound than Cinder is, but still. And Cinder just, didn't like the fact that, someone else was using a design, before she could. Or a concept, not a design. That's basically what the whole part with, Sprite comes down to. Without evidence, I saw it and thought she must have copied me. Again, that's just jealousy here. That is jealousy talking. And, if I remember correctly... So, Cerberus had been active before this. Because Cerberus, or Sprite, mentions that, she'll be debuting a new model, not, her first model. So, she'd been active before this. And, I mean, presumably, given that, Sprite is a Cerberus VTuber, that she was already using the Hellhound design. But I never did anything but voice, other than voice my frustrations to Red. Yeah, I feel like that is where the whole thing is, coming from. She was voicing her frustrations, quote-unquote, to Red. Red, being both her boyfriend and her manager, wanted to make her happy. So, he decided to try and, do something. Which, I can't blame him for trying to make his partner happy. It's just the way they went about this. I didn't want to start drama with anyone, and I didn't have ownership over Fire as a design detail. The references for the ripped shirt and shorts on my bikini model, which was given to Nano in June of 2022, with the purpose of having a cover-up outfit that would be safe for Twitch. Yeah, because bikini would not have gone over well on Twitch. The merch art that she's referring to was designed around my concept, my concept of my fire changing blue. The fact that the rest of the art was grayscale was the artist's choice, since it was going onto the back of a hoodie. And I didn't have a say? I didn't have a say? In your own merch? You didn't have a say in your own merch. I find that really fucking hard to believe there, Cindy. Or at least I didn't counter that being the final decision. You see, that right there, that is a contradictory statement. I didn't have any say, then saying, oh, actually, I kind of did have a say, I just didn't do anything. That is a contradictory statement. I didn't have any say. Or at least I didn't counter when, that being the final decision. That's literally saying you had a say, you chose not to. There's no deliberate intention to look like Sprite. Unfortunately, both my Angel and Sleepy outfits are similar to outfits Sprite has done in the past. It was just a coincidence. Well, let's go back to Sprite. Yeah, this is the grayscale art. It's really not that grayscale, honestly. But, whatever. And this was Cerberus, this was Sprite's, Sprite, not Cerberus. Her, Angel model, which was based off Greek, which is more Greek mythology based, as she says, On April 29th, I designed a Greek goddess outfit for stream. I am a Cerberus VTuber, so it fits my lore completely. Right? I mentioned that I may or may not get a future Greek goddess skin because it fits my branding. Right. That, that makes sense. Then Sinder debuted a Heaven Okami-inspired outfit that, admittedly does kind of have some similarities to, to Sprite's, design. And then the Sleepy Time one. Come on. These two outfits are very similar. Come on. Come on. Like, this is... And Sinder says this was all a coincidence. She'd always planned to make an angel counterpart for her demon outfit when it was made in 2023. Her original ref sheet laid out the idea, and she never liked theming anything around her brand in a religious light. It's a little hard to do when your concept is literally hellhound. The concept of hell is, a very religious thing. The concept of heaven is also a very religious thing. But, so I decided to make my, angel form more Greek Valkyrie inspired. Which also gives her a similar look to the demon form. And the sleepy outfit was a last-minute decision to pivot from a full 3D model because of the GamerSubs AFK flavor. She then goes on to say that, Sprite should have never received hate comments over the outfits, or comparing them, belittling her because of Cinder's existence. She has never advocated anyone do so, in her words. And then, Sprite also brought up another creator who reached out to her about their experience with me, and I can only assume it's Nyantails. They're an ASM artist who at one point posted a Hellhound OC for their upcoming ASMR videos, and it was undoubtedly created using my design as a reference. This was right after my debut, and like I said, I was very protective of my design elements, blah blah. Isn't it possible that they, based it off of, the other Hellhound VTuber who looks similar-ish to Sinder? Well, actually, that there says the, I'd like to clarify, I myself am not saying your design looks like hers. I was scrolling it, saw the awesome design when I saw the flames and / near the ears. I had flashbacks to it, and I thought to myself, oh no! So, I guess that means, so, I guess I was wrong in that regard, but still, it's not that uncommon to find, human Hellhound designs. And fire in around the ears is just a cool design, so. At the start of my online career, I was a GFE, I forget exactly what GFE is, but, she's an ASM artist. Before I started my channel, I had gotten into listening to roleplay audios myself. I'd always been a shut-in throughout high school, wasn't happy where my life and relationship was at the time. Blah, blah, blah. Basically, kind of explaining a little bit of why she started ASMR. She was immature and inexperienced with how to conduct herself online. And that she never had many IRL friends. She'd met Rain doing ASMR and quickly became comfortable with him. Talking about her personal life. And it, when she shouldn't have. She admits to cheating on her boyfriend with Rain. I don't know if the boyfriend at the time was still Red. I think so, but still. She, cheated with Rain. you know, she literally says, you know, flirting and sexting. She used Rain for emotional comfort and sexual fantasy, while she let her real-life relationship crash. Which is not... That's not good, girl. Girl, come on. Yeah. It was never about climbing the ladder with Rain. And I find that, being his takeaway from why I moved on, baffling. Given everything else that's come out, I don't find it that baffling. Yeah. So, yeah. And then, lastly, I want to address Peaches. This is basically her saying that she's got too busy and, essentially completely forgot about whoever Peaches is. I forget her. And now, 5 pages in, we are finally getting to the apologies. 5 out of 7 pages. 5 out of 7. So, you know, her apology to Nano is, you know, basically saying she lost sight of how everyone around her felt. She had no intentions of pressuring her in any way, but looking back on her clouded judgments, she can see how her messages felt that way. Yeah. And just, it's not an actual apology. To Bow! You know, starting off with, since the start I've always admired you, and how genuine you've always been to everyone. And then, you know, she says right here, I'm disgusted with myself for buying the narrative that my friends were competition. And that she never had such genuine friendships in her life. So, of course, you know, she talks shit about, you know, this genuine friend behind her back. Makes perfect sense. You know? And that I've made here in the last several years, or the countless friendships I've made over the past several years, are so much more to me than him and the business side of things. Sure didn't seem like it a couple months ago, when Red mentioned that you know, Bao was quote unquote stealing you know, your animators and stuff. His way of thinking, his way of thinking, no amount of popularity or money means more to me than the relationships I've built in this community. This isn't really apologizing. To Sack, I loved getting to chat with you about the video. I don't remember exactly when this... I can't believe how Red talked about you, especially after all the effort you put in for me. I'm so sorry for everything that's happened. Scott and Lily, I'm so sad. I'm so sorry you got dragged into this. It's my fault. I let it get this far. I hope you can believe me when I say I had no knowledge about Red bringing you up in Nano's DMs. Well, considering Cotton is one of the ones who replied to Cinder's tweet saying I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed, dude. I don't think she believes you, Cinder. Lily is still probably asleep because she's in Germany. So she's still she might be asleep and not have any idea that this response came out. But yeah, you know. Friends. Affected by the narrative that things always have to be competitive. If I knew Red was trying to exclude specific friends in the exclusivity deal... Dog. Excluding people is what an exclusivity deal is. An exclusivity deal is straight up saying that, you know, you can only work with me. That is what an exclusivity deal is. To Silver, blah blah blah, just, you know, saying that she was blinded by all the hate comments, calling her Silver's lesser half, trying to emotionally appeal towards the audience by saying that she hates the person she's become, and, you know, Sprite, short and sweet, I'm sorry I assumed things about your design that weren't true. No. That is the shortest apology in this video, and that is the one that feels the most genuine. Peaches, I'm sorry I made it feel like I was ghosting you. You know. To Rain, you know. I was immature and vulnerable, and ended up being consumed by the content I was making, and it led me to make awful decisions I still think about and regret. I've hated myself for this kind of behavior, and it took a long time for me to move on from what happened. I have no excuses. You're right, you don't have any excuses. Not exclusives, excuses. And I'm sorry, Pyropups, this is, you know, basically saying this is not who I should be, blah blah blah. You know, I'm sorry for everything that's happened. You know. Let's be entirely clear here. This is not an apology. This is her trying to throw Red under the bus for actions that they both shared. And again, note, she does not have any screenshots or evidence to back up her claims. Everyone else does. She could very easily, you know, bring up some screenshots to show that, you know, she, you know, did not know, you know, about all this. You know, that, each time Red, pressured Cotton into, or not Cotton, Nano into this, you know, and told Cinder that, you know, it would, that it was, you know, she was entirely by choice and stuff, like, that could have helped Cinder clear her name, you know, and shown that she, while not completely innocent, was, you know, less a part of it. But, like a lot of these, you know, let's go through some of the comments. You know, we have a Buff Pup just saying, dude, fuck off. Camilla saying, you know, as if a boyfriend and girlfriend don't tell each other every single little thing, you're blaming him to save yourself. Disappointed in you both. Shame on you and the pain you've caused all your friends, just so you can be the best. I agree with Cotton though. Hades. I really wish this would start with the apology first. I think the people you directly hurt deserve it. And the most the most, and salvaging your career should come after. Regardless, I have my own doubts about how much you genuinely didn't know, and a lot of info, blah blah blah. The info read had seemed weird for a manager to have about your friends. Still, I hope you take some time away and reflect. Just because you've done horrible things doesn't mean you haven't done good things and brought happiness to people. You know, please really take time to figure out who you want to be and change for the better. You know, I do think that, you know, she's right. You know, man, this was disappointing to read. As content creators, we're responsible for our own brand image. We are responsible for the relationships we maintain and how we treat others. That includes behind the scenes as well. Exactly. You know, Cotton, you know, saying she's disappointed. Cha-Cha saying, you know, and he hasn't been talked to extensively about the situation. Oh. You know, Skydark, this doesn't feel like an apology. Where's the accountability? You know, this I'm not really going to pay attention to because this feels like it's AI. You know, I had no involvement or knowledge, as if partners don't tell each other everything. Nope, screenshots to prove what you're saying. Yeah. You know, mistakes in jealousy and losing control are understandable. You can grow from them. But betrayal is different. It shows you're willing to sacrifice your friends whenever it's convenient. And no business should ever justify that. I agree. You know, Cinder, reading this is so disappointing. I understand having doubts and insecurities, I think all VTubers can, but you let your insecurities consume you. Did you ever stop to think and realize, you became the type of person you always feared? Fucking a bingo thing. Phrases like, I'm sorry for the ideas that were put into my head by someone else should have no place in an apology that takes accountability. Agreed. The major consensus here is that this apology was, a little, disappointing. Yeah, disappointing. Oh, and, that's right. There were some other VTubers that had a little bit more, to say. Camilla posting this, scene from Wicked. Which, I haven't seen Wicked, so I don't know if this is actually has anything to do. Smuggalana, a picture of 9/11 and her. This I bookmarked because this is basically it. You know, this is where the document should have started. Why are the apologies buried under footnotes? As well as what feels like the essay is. Oh shit, one of my dogs is outside. I will be right back. This hurts. This hurts because this isn't an apology. Right, and this, from a Mei Kitsune, is basically what I was saying. So, you spoke so much shit about your friends to your boyfriend because you needed to be better than them, and they were jealous. He worked off what your real thoughts were. Take accountability for being a shitty person and friend. Think about how your friends feel for once. Like, you gotta realize that, Red was more than likely working off of what, Cinder had been saying to him. This is so heartbreaking. Oh. Uh-oh. I just saw that Shy Lily, who was mentioned— oh my god, this full fucking document. Shy Lily was mentioned in Nano's document, as Cinder saw her as competition. So let's see what Shy Lily says. The absolute audacity to sit here and continue to manipulate and gaslight is absolute insanity. The pain and mental torment you've caused to one's closest and most supportive has been devastating, and I have never felt so heartbroken and hurt so badly, especially for my friends. You are the fakest person I've ever had the displeasure of supporting, reading and hearing of how you really viewed me behind my back, not just through screenshots, but your man, or not just screenshots of your man, but your very own messages, while having to sit here and read through these bullshit lies you spin makes me want to vomit. To claim that you didn't know a single thing and had zero awareness of what your man was up to, when everyone else, when everyone who's shared even a single moment with you knows that you basically operate as the same person, sharing every waking moment, while loving to jump to the slightest opportunity to turn into your most slanderous self as soon as the opportunity was given. Even when talking about your friends is sickening. I've experienced your actions without Red, in a situation where your own screenshotted words express a pressure to live up to what Lily is, and proceeded to throw one of your most loyal and supportive friends under the bus after months of continuous planning, just because you consistently choose business over friends, never feeling bad for failing them. Just to earn the bag and compete with me over a V-Card collab that you rescheduled to be on the exact date your friend needed you to keep an important promise. You actively lied to them Instead blaming me for a collab you rescheduled, adding me to the pool of excuses to save your ass, when you realized you were being a bad friend. Why blame me for choosing to miss an obligation you agreed to on one of the most important days in that friend's career? I have no idea what she's talking about here, but oh, damn. Everything you do is out of competition through you consistently need to one-up the people who are the sole reason you even have these opportunities and platforms to earn to begin with. You're welcome, by the way. You claim that it's just business as well. In a business world, there has to be accountability, and all you've done is shove it away and admit to nothing. In true narcissistic fashion, you're only feeling sorry for yourself and your own consequences and your career trying to salvage it. I'm sorry to anyone who has looked up to you as inspiration, And I'm especially sorry for your fans. Pirate Pups deserve better. Yeah, yeah, this hurts to see and to hear, 'cause, like I said, Cinder was my inspiration. Oh my god, even Mega. Up to you, man. And Fifi and Lena, this really hurts to see my biggest inspiration not only, you know, treat her artist like shit, you know, throw, you know, speak bad about one of her best friends behind her back, target someone for no fucking reason, and be jealous of someone who, you thought was fucking trying to copy you with with nothing, no evidence. And then to sit here and just throw Red under the bus. It wasn't just Red who did this. God, this hurts. This really, really hurts. And I'm going to go back over to my Twitch and how do I?
Your mom's watching? Hi, Mom.
There. I'm sorry. I cannot support Cinder after seeing everything in those docs and seeing her just throw Red under the bus and take little to no accountability for her own actions. And what's really telling about all this is Shy Lily. Lily is one of the sweetest creators you can find. And her going off like that means you fucked up. There is little to no chance of redemption here. I'm sorry, Cinder. This hurts. This really, really hurts. I'm just gonna